Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 27 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you're part of the Fediverse. Yes, even you folks on big tech platforms such as YouTube, you are, for the moment, a Fedizen while you watch this. With me today is Zoe Kooyman.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zoe
Just
is the
say it with confidence.
I'm not confident in anything. Zoe is the executive director of the Free Software Foundation, having started as a program manager in charge of public activities and communications in 2019. Zoe holds a BA in media and culture and a master's in preservation and presentation of the moving image, which obviously lines up perfectly with free software. Both from the University of Amsterdam and in true Dutch style, prefers to travel by bicycle. I did not make any of that up. I love that your byline on the Free Software Foundation says the bicycle part. But Zoe, welcome to Fireside Fedi. And first and foremost, how would you like to be addressed?
You can just call me Zoe.
Zoe. All right.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Uh, so, with such an interesting background, how did you get to where you're at today?
Ha. lots of little side roads that I took.
Mm-hmm.
How did I get here? Let's see. I've listened to your podcast a couple of times now, so I know people always struggle like where to start.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I also struggle with this, but I think for me, a lot of it really just started in university. You know, first of all, you live in a community. I really lived in a
Mm-hmm.
community as well. I lived in a community of what was it, 17 people in a house with two bathrooms and
Oh,
what was it? Yeah, two
oof.
bathrooms, two showers, and what was it? We shared like five stoves or something, and of stove tops, I have to say, not stoves.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
we it
Yeah.
was really community focused. So that's one thing. And then um, it's I don't know. There's something about that period of time when you're so open to learning and
Mm-hmm.
really, I think for me personally, I was also really uh, really sort of ready to take up these ideals of being community focused, believing that uh, you can sort of shape the world the way that you want to, and do the right thing. And there, so you just mentioned my university studies. I actually
Mm-hmm.
started uh, in art school, and my whole life I've been very sort of culture focused. Cultures and arts was just something that I was always really intrigued by: theater,
Okay.
art, high art, film, things like that. And I just and the deeper meaning of that to me is storytelling. Like that's how we move
Okay.
forward in society, basically by teaching each other the knowledge that you have and doing that, whether you do it in a light way or whether you do it in a deep and meaningful way or you do it in front of a classroom is really sort of pounding that knowledge in, or whether you do it through a story in a cinema that teaches you, I don't know, the meaning of camaraderie or some sort of deeper engagement with what a certain history is or things like that.
Yeah.
And so I was really interested in learning more about the theory of that. So I did a lot of like, because I went to art school, but then to me it was all very practical. So I missed sort of the deeper engagement of that. And so I decided I needed to study something that was a little bit more intellectually challenging. And so I went on to study media and culture. And then I took this like side road where I had a job to pay for my studies, and that was an event job. So I organized
Mm-hmm.
events and I did it as like a production coordinator for a very long time, where you just sort of sit in this main office where literally everyone that comes onto the event construction site comes and knocks at your door and goes, I need to, I don't know, build a stage. I need to find a vehicle. I need to have a radio. I need to eat. I need a hotel. And that just 24/7. And I did that to pay for my studies, and I did it pretty well. So they offered me a position in Australia. So I paused my studies for a bit and I went to Australia to be the project manager of the first event in Australia, which ended up being a, what is it, 45,000 people uh,
Yeah.
dance event
A
in Melbourne.
dance event. Okay.
I think it was called the Telstra Dome back then, the arena in Melbourne, and really enjoyed that. Thought for a second about sort of taking that position, or even sort of course, lived the dream a little bit of like, should I stay? I'll just become a diving instructor. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, the beauty about that work that I did was that one, it taught me everything there is to know about organizing, whether it is within,
Hmm.
our own culture, or like stepping outside of your culture completely, um, and dealing with things that happen on location, things that are more ingrained in like the way people work, but also just sort of how to handle stress and how to deal with influential parties that sort of affects whatever you can do at any moment, like big sponsors or things like that, and the fact that you just have to open the doors at some point. So here goes, and so I really enjoyed that. It taught me a lot, and I uh, did that work for quite a while, and then I went back, decided not to take the full time position, but to focus on my studies. Did my master's in preservation and presentation of the moving image, where I sort of lived back in that with that same group of people, or of course they had changed a little bit, but
Hmm.
in that group, international, also very focused on free software things, and community focus, but also just an intelligent bunch that just sort of all felt like they had something to bring, and they did. And I, in my PMP studies, I actually learned about copyleft, and that blew my mind. And I was like, this is like the answer to everything. Like, why doesn't everyone follow this thought process that is behind copyleft? That is about how we grow. This is about how
Hmm.
we improve society. It's about how culture sort of teaches how we sort of stand on the shoulders of others. It's literally what has brought us to where we are. So why isn't this the norm? And and I never really let that go. And then went back to the event business for a little bit, did that for a couple of years, traveled the world with them, did events literally all over. So Southeast Asia, North America, Central America, Europe, the whole thing, Russia. And then I
Wow.
moved, yeah, then I moved back to Australia with my husband this time, became a freelancer, just to sort of figure out what I was going to do if I wasn't an event organizer. Um, did like a whole bunch of different kinds of events and cultural manifestations and just anything sort of that I could get my hand on. I was even in sales for a little bit.
Done
And
that.
then yeah, awful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I moved to the US. And in the US I really sort of I just I I learned a lot in the US. And one of the things that I really learned was that if you want to make a change, you should make a change. If you there is like you get there's a sense of global responsibility, there's a sense of communal responsibility, but in the end, you just have to take steps forward.
Hmm.
And if you want to see something happen, you need to do something about it.
Yep.
And this is so at the forefront of people's minds in the US. And I know it sounds silly, but it's just not the case where I come from.
Hmm.
And so there I really made up my mind to say I want to do something for the good of society, for the good of people.
Okay.
And I found this position through like some contacts through like different contacts. They got me onto this mailing list, and then the mailing list had this position for a program manager at the Free Software Foundation. I was like, no way they will hire me with my background. Like, why? Why? I'm not a software person, but I
Right.
like,
Yeah.
but all of the ideals
Hmm.
are me, like is me. So I was like, and I have this experience. I have this experience of like organizing events, and they wanted someone to grow Label Planet, which is the annual event. And
Hmm.
that was of course pre-COVID, when events were still dreaming of growing. And so I just I applied, and I didn't even tell my husband. I was like, I'm gonna do this sort of in secret because it's never gonna happen. And then John, who was the executive director at that time, he was like, no, you're kind of exactly the right mix of things that we need right now. So let's just give it a go. And that was it. That's the story. And then I just really loved it. Like, I loved the community. I love the fact that I learn something new every day. I love the fact that I get to develop my technological skills. I just really like the people that I work with, and I think what has sort of been proven is that my skill set was indeed a skill set that was really sort of good and well placed within sort of how you run an organization, both on ideals and on practicality. So I think that's my story.
I mean, there's obviously so much there though, because like you, like my background originally was not in IT. I had dabbled with it. And it's interesting that you were in media and culture, and you're talking about societies and how they interact and things like that, because one of my favorite classes was sociology. Understanding how societies, we were just talking about this earlier, can differ from literally, one imaginary line to the next, right? And
Yeah.
how we shape that. But also, I think it's really interesting, especially in today's modern day internet with social media, talking about history and talking about messaging matters so much more now, because you can literally, I mean, at any time you could take, an image or a situation, and you can portray it one way or you can portray it another. And is one right or wrong? And it's really interesting because I think that you're, again, especially being executive director of the Free Software Foundation, as you were saying, like, you might not have been technical at the time, but you need to be able to kind of spread the message and have the conversation. When I was working for Red Hat, I was looking to make a move, and I went to a software engineering manager and I said, hey, what is it like on the development side? He's like, well, if I could hire you, I don't have a position open, but if I could hire you, I would make you a senior software engineer. And I'm like, but I can't code. I
but
can,
but
I
why?
can, yeah, and I can read C. And he's like, I don't need someone that can code. I need someone that can talk to people. They have people that can code, right? I'm assuming at the Free Software Foundation, they have guys that can just sit
Yes.
there and just bang away, and they need an advocate for them. And I
Yes.
see that's what kind of your position is, right?
Yes. Yes. And I mean, it takes a lot of understand. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
There's very little else that I read about in the last 6 years than free software to sort of get myself up to speed. But this idea that, and I've always been like, I am sort of I don't have any technical skills, but or specific technical skills, but I am
Hmm.
sort of apt, like I have aptitude, and I've always had aptitude for technology. So,
Yep.
um, like I understand HTML, and I understand a little bit of program language, and there's a bit of
Yep.
everything there, and I just, because they're all little puzzles, and I like little
Yes.
puzzles.
Yes.
So I do dive into it, and I have always done that, but it's not like I am not a technical person. I am literally educated to understand and to see the world as a place that is based on that there's a specific way of looking at knowledge. There's a specific way of looking
Hmm.
at our culture as we live and technology's role in it. And for example, we were a textual society for a very long time. And since, I don't know, the development of the television, really, we just became a visual society. And it's just becoming more and more and more. And all of
Hmm.
that has a lot of meaning for us. And at the center of all of these really big sort of cultural shifts of the past, mainly I would say 60, 70 years. But if you really want to go back, you can go back, like, I would say, I don't know, the development of the train. Like if you study media studies, you can, they talk about the train as like the predecessor of cinema. So
Oh,
there's like, because
interesting.
there's like a difference, because you start looking at things in a different way. That was the first time that we sort of started seeing moving images. And that's a completely
Okay.
different mindset. And so it changed the way people viewed the world. Distances became smaller, like you could
Yes.
transcend time. And you do that, of course, with film, you do the same. And so with the internet, you do that even more. So there's like all of these sort of little little connections that you make between how we advance and what that means for our society. And that is sort of how I was trained, and I try to use that a little bit as well. But at the center of all of that is technology, and at the center of that is
Hmm.
software. And I firmly believe that if we make that free software, then we're
Yes.
building a society that we want to see.
And for I don't I think I have a very technical audience, but in case there are non-technical people listening, can you explain to them kind of the ethos that you have around that? Because I think a lot of folks that are not technical, that might actually be on the Fediverse, that don't understand it, that don't want to understand it, which is fine, but is here for the human connection. They look at it, it's like, well, you can't, like, people are needed to be paid to make money to make software. Like, how that doesn't add up. And I'm, again, I work for Red Hat. I am right there with you. I agree 100%. But do you want to try and explain kind of your idea of copyleft and free software?
Sure, yeah. So do you want me to go to like the basics of what is copyleft even, or do you think we can skip that?
No, wherever you think. I think so many people have heard of copyright. I think copyleft is kind of a easy to understand thing, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I
So
can
I'll
just do it.
yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
um, so this the idea of copyleft. One of the reasons why, well, the thing that it is what sort of touched me the most when I learned about it is the fact that um, you perpetuate and you reciprocate. And
Hmm.
so when you create something, it is important that the next person has the same level of freedom to create again. And
Hmm.
if you slowly sort of, if you if you start creating something and then close it down, you're starting to create this funnel where knowledge is just sort of becoming a non-accessible thing. And so copyleft tries to mediate that by saying, no, you can create something, especially with the knowledge that I have given you or with the creation that I have brought to you. You can
Hmm.
also create something. Please do. Actually, please drive us forward. Please make us better.
Yes.
But you have to promise me that the next person that creates based on what you are making gets the same freedoms as you do.
Yes.
And that's it. That's the whole story. And that's how we sort of bring progress to the world. And we always have until we started sort of like making rules around it and mediating it. And
Hmm.
any story, any older story that you know is built upon the stories of others. Like there is never
Yes.
ever ever a story that was just set in stone and that's how it stayed.
No, and I mean, again, I obviously agree. When I started getting into computers, and specifically, I actually got into Linux in the late '90s, and once I was able to kind of start figuring things out in the 2000s, like, it's empowering. It You can go in and, you know mess with anything if you want, and a vast majority of my journey, and a lot of those in free software, from what I've seen, at least modern day, has been going in and playing with things and tinker with things. And I think that your analogy, or at least your, from a historical standpoint, right? We told stories and then people could build on those. One of the reasons you see movies or read books that have similar tropes is because they're all standing on the backs of everyone else.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
relatable and we understand those things.
Yes. I mean,
And
look at these bigger and like to to keep it sort of in
yeah,
the society social sort of side and not in the technical software world. But
yes.
look at Disney. Like all of their major
Yeah.
stories, they're based on stories that they didn't come up with. Like this is
Yep.
this idea that you then all of a sudden go, and now it's ours. Lock on it, and then that's it.
I've
It's just
literally, yeah.
awful, and it's really detrimental to sort of where we're going as a people.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, and that's just the storytelling part. But like I said before, the technology behind it is so important, and
Yes.
we tend to look at sort of what you can do with a medium, with a computer, with a tool, with a new technological advancement, like for example a self-driving car. Well, I mean it drives, so that's why we have it. but but within that media theory, you also have people that say, no, hold up, we need to think about the fact that this technology is actually saying something about our society. Not what it does per se, but the fact that it exists and how it is built
Yeah.
means something. And that is what brings us to sort of the core of what free software is about.
Yeah. And it's interesting because there was a study or something that came out, I think, in the European Union literally last week, talking about how free software has contributed trillions of dollars of
Yes.
value, right? And the self-driving cars are really interesting because right now there's a race in Silicon Valley who can get there first, as if they're going to be the only one. But it's so interesting because if we would have done it in an open way, like we all could have worked together on these projects. We don't have to race, but I guess
And then you
in
could have a little bit, like, the thing is also like very basically you can then have faith, like you are putting your life and your family's life into the hands of a corporation
an
there or a
unknown.
person there. and
Yeah.
and I don't know, there's something really scary about that. the
Well, and
the
it's
fact that this is an example where it becomes like a physical thing. And so it's a good example because people can actually
yeah.
imagine, sort of like put someone that you don't know at the hands of your car, and then put your entire family in that car and say go. That's really scary.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing too is a lot of the underlying, and most people don't realize this, is that free software now is everywhere. It's
Yes.
one, right? Like
Yes.
it's not in a consumer's endpoint. It's not in their purview, but free software has one, but it needs to be extended even more. And in my opinion, I was thinking about this earlier, is we've not only need to focus on free software, we need to focus on services that are, in my opinion, more open and free. One of the things the Fediverse does is it brings the control back to us.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know where I was going with that, but it needs to be extended in that idea of, we need to know not what you're running in the background, but how you're running it as well.
It's transparency. Yeah, it's
Right.
transparency and control and a certain level of, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people want to have this control over something in order to I don't know, control the narrative.
Hmm.
Um, and it's interesting that you were talking about earlier that when you came to the United States, you realized that you had the realization that if you want something to happen, you kind of have to go for it. I mean, that's literally the show, and that's literally, I started a nonprofit organization because I want to foster the Fediverse, and like and it might not come of anything, but I'm wholly a part of that. That if you want something bad enough, you kind of
Yeah.
have to push it, and I wholly,
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that. Do you?
Yeah. Sorry, go.
No,
There
no,
was
no.
a
Go ahead.
question coming.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
what I was going to say is that it's in your it like it's in people's hands, and we actually at the FSF sometimes we get this feedback that we are too elitist almost. I don't know if elitist is the right word
Yeah,
because I
no,
wouldn't call it elitist, but we're of course this sort of authority that keeps saying no, but you are doing it wrong because this is not free. No, you are doing it wrong, and that's true. We're
yes,
like the annoying kid in the class that goes, "Hey, but but aren't we forgetting something?" And that like it's a role
yes,
we play and have to play, and we take it really seriously because we believe that that's the only way that we're going to slowly move the needle. But the thing
yes,
is about that is that that is also that also means it's up to you. Like it means
yes,
that we will constantly be asking you to make a change, you to do something different. And that is
hmm,
not because we want, it's because we don't want to lecture you or anything. We need you. Like the only way that we're
yes,
really going to drive change is if we do it with many, many people at the same time. Because
yes,
top down, it's not going to change. Only
right,
bottom up is how we drive change. And that's what we've
yep,
seen time and time again with movements. It's when you get uh, a big enough group of people that stands up and says, and now it's enough, now it needs to be different. That's what people listen to. And free software
hmm,
has done that and has been doing it. It's why Microsoft has like an open source focused campaign. Actually, Microsoft actually did a presentation. I saw. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I saw them do a presentation on like sovereignty in Europe about how they were
data
going
sovereignty,
to
yep,
stand for sovereignty in Europe, which is a little bit strange if you think about the fact that
it's
Microsoft is not a European organization,
it's
but
hypocritical.
but
But
that's what it is,
they're
and that's
trying to
how. But
give, yeah, they're trying to give the image that they will help you be sovereign also while not being
yes,
sovereign.
and it's an awful thing to do of a corporation like that, a horrible thing to do, but it does mean that we are doing something right because clearly
Yep,
they think that that is what people want to hear. And so we just need to keep moving. But that does mean we need to continue building that group of people that says, nah, this is just not good enough. We need you as the provider of whatever service it is that I am paying for to do better.
yeah, and I, the elitist comment, like, yeah, right. I've seen that, but it's also I think the way that is being communicated, which again I think is, and I don't know how you became executive director or anything, but I think that the Free Software Foundation, the ideals have taken root, like things like the right to repair movement, right? That all aligns with this kind of thing, that your device should be yours, software,
Yes.
hardware, all of that, right? And I think that you're at a great time to make that message, I don't want to say more palpable, but easier for someone to understand,
Yeah.
a non-tech person to understand, like, hey, that phone that's driving you nuts, that should be yours,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting because one of the community members that I always ask folks if they have any questions for the guests, and one of them was essentially how it has come off from the Free Software Foundation that, like, you should not use any software or hardware that is proprietary. And it's like, well, what about my insulin pump, right? And I don't
Yeah.
ever think it's that kind of thing. There might have been some folks there that are like, well, I'm not going to use it, and that's fine for you. But when it's something to get your job done, get
Yeah.
your job done, right? Is that, where do you stand on something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough. Like we within the Free Software Foundation, there are people that just say no. Like they use only free software, and I would never ask them to use proprietary software,
Mm-hmm,
even if it means doing their job. But that is because I work for the FSEP, and we have been able to create this world that we want to see, and still
mm-hmm,
like we still invest in it in a way that people often don't see or don't recognize, but we do everything ourselves. We host everything ourselves because it
mm-hmm.
needs to be free. We want to create this. We need to practice what we preach. So, but when people ask me if like it's almost
Yes.
like asking me for permission to to live your life the way
Yeah.
that society or the culture is sort of forcing you to. So
Mm-hmm.
what I say is, you need to do what you need to do. I will never say to you, go ahead, use the proprietary software. What I will say to you is, you need to do what you need to do to live your life, but just think about the consequences. And if you say
Yes.
yes, that doesn't mean you have to always say yes either. Maybe you can say no later. Maybe you can say no once. Maybe you can make
Mm-hmm.
this minor, minor, minor little change within the place that you are and drive it forward from there. Nothing happens overnight. And we all
Yes.
live in the real world. We all need to make
Yeah.
ends meet. We all need to pay our, you know, mortgages, and we all need to raise our children. And so this is not something that I can say, oh no, you just, step outside of it. That's just not the way life works. And
Yeah.
I think it is true that we haven't always been good at
Mm-hmm.
messaging that way. And that is because we don't like compromise. As
That's
the
fair.
FSF, we have this responsibility to be that far end of the spectrum. And as our organization, we are proof that it's possible as well.
Yes.
Um, but like I said, nothing happens overnight, and we like we're
Well,
it's very real to
eh,
know that this is not something that I can say to someone that walks up to me and goes, oh, so you do this thing with free software, really, what's that about? So
yes.
how can I do that? And then, of course, I will say, start with something small.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a tool, here's an application that is free, uh, here's a way to, like, not install a program on your computer that is proprietary, but replace it with something that
Mm-hmm.
is free, and learn the concepts of it. Here's a website where you can read more about it. This is the way that I get people started as well, of course, in real life. So yeah, let's not fool ourselves and say that we don't. Like, that's just not what life is. But
Yeah. Well,
but
being
I'd
in,
like everyone to get to the space where we are with our organization, and we will work really hard to do that. And so a compromise is still a compromise. So please think about that.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I've been telling people, like when I was in sales, they would always tell you plant the seeds. I don't know if you've ever heard that in sales, right? Like you plant the seeds of what you want the outcome to eventually be, and then when you think it's ready, like you harvest it, right? And I think that's the idea, is you don't need to change everything overnight. I've talked to too many people like, I'm going to de-Google everything. And it's like, you're going to fail, because I've
Yeah.
failed. I've been there. I could not de-Google everything. Like I have an Android phone. It's Calyx OS now, but under the hood, it's still Android, which again makes me wonder if the free software movement has gotten us so far, and now we need to focus on free platforms, free services. Are you guys looking at it from like that? Because Google, again, Chromium, Android, they're free in a sense because they control the entire back end.
Hmm.
Do
Yeah.
you extend to that kind of level?
We do.
It's
There's
hard, right? Like it's
Yes, I mean, we moved from, one, we are a very small organization, and
yes.
we do a lot of different things, and we struggle a little bit with all the things that we want to do and all the things that we
Mm-hmm.
can achieve, because we
Yes.
have a tech team that is making sure that everything is run on free software, and that helps. Community projects with infrastructure that is also fully, free, and supports that, and
Mm-hmm.
does that work. Now we could, of course, focus on that, build on that, and I don't know, rise to become a completely development organization, that, and it would be amazing. But then we also have this responsibility towards our licenses, that were written by the FSF and published by the FSF, that we need to make sure that we steward, and we need to make sure that there's compliance there, and we need to make sure that people are educated about what it means and how to use these licenses. So that is a lot of work as well. And then, of course, we need to do our advocacy. We need to explain to people what it is that free software actually means. How do we get it to people? And how do we get people to try it? How do we
Yep.
get people to understand these concepts? And so we're a team of, like, it switches, of course, between like staff moving back and forth, especially over these last few years where foundations everywhere are just sort of doing the best they can. But we've got between 10 and 12 people basically all the time just sort of trying to change the world from all aspects. And and so we
Hmm.
struggle a little bit in like where to best invest sometimes. But we are definitely working towards being more active and taking a more active role in um, making sure that there are solutions. And so, I mean, that's sort of information for you to keep in mind when you look at us over, I don't know, the next coming months. Um, there's always something in the pipeline. Let's just say
Well,
that.
and
And
it's
I
always
yeah,
you're. This is one of the things that I've really disliked with, again, the modern internet on both sides of the spectrum, where it's like, oh well, you said this thing and now you're changing it, and it's like, because we're allowed to evolve, we're allowed to adapt, we're allowed to grow, right? And I think I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm guessing just from the brief conversation, like, you still have the same ideals, but again, the messaging on how you get there is a bit changed, and you're allowed to kind of have those conversations and change your minds.
yeah. So the funny thing is that I don't think that we have changed that much.
Oh,
I
okay.
do think, yeah. So, because this is also how I was, like, I was also raised within the Free Software Foundation, and this is also how I was raised within that space. So it's,
Hmm.
I don't feel like I'm telling everyone such a different story right now. I might be telling it in a different way. I might be
Okay.
saying it with words that people might be more, I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but I don't feel like we've changed that much. We're still stubborn. We're still
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
still
No.
come across as authoritative, but we have always known that it takes hard work and one
Hmm.
step at a time to get to where we want to go, even for us, like even for the GNU project, even for the FSF itself as an organization. And
Well, and
so,
even
yeah,
like even in 20 years, right? Like 20
yeah,
years is a long time while also not being a long time, and we went from, I mean, I knew what Linux was 20 years ago, but I was like, there's no way you can run it, to, slowly switching over to it, to then Valve jumping in, to Google jumping in, and as much as I'm not a fan of Facebook, like, they're a big part of free software. Like, a lot of these ideals, especially coming out of Silicon Valley now, are, I mean, hell, running stuff on Git, right? Like, that is totally free. And, well, you need to make your code open so that others can look at it and help you. And those ideals 20 to 30 years ago were like, no, why would I ever do that? That's my moneymaker.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think, yeah, yeah, probably. Um, Gosh, so much changes, right? All the time. The thing is
Yeah.
that these corporations you mentioned, they have influenced the way that everything is developed so much as well.
Hmm.
Um, but like we said before, like in our little pre-conversation before we started, um, history sort of only becomes history once it's written down, and so
Yes.
it's really, I don't know, this sort of it started with the free software ideals, proprietary software slowly came up, and then that for a while was how everyone made their money and sort of grabbed
Hmm.
what they could grab and held on to it with everything that they could. And now slowly they are realizing that that's not actually a possibility because the core of what they built on was free and is free, and so they need to give back. And now as a society we're sort of opening up again to see the value of that. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my way of telling history, but I think it's a nice story.
Yeah. Well, so you talked about the licenses. Weird question. What's your favorite license?
No. uh,
It's
I
weird,
mean,
right? Like, I don't actually expect an answer, but it's like, oh, they're all my children. Uh,
yes, yeah. I can't pick one over another. No, for me, I mean, I think, uh, I think the GPL is just like at the core of
mhm.
like what copyleft means to me. And I think there are, there it changed over time. There's been a lot of discussion about what uh, difficulties it has right now that we should be thinking about. And of course we are, like, nothing is perfect, and especially not in a time like like like
Hmm.
our technology changes so fast that
Ridiculously
our
fast.
licenses can't sort of, it's just hard to make them apply all the time to every single iteration of whatever it
Right.
is that people come up with. And so nothing is perfect, but to me, the GPL is just sort of yeah, that's
Well,
where it all started. And like I said, my personal um, interest in everything that free software is started with this concept of copyleft. So
yeah.
that's where the GPL naturally is that fit.
What do you think, or what's the Free Software Foundation stance, if you want to do that, on kind of the situation that we've seen, unfortunately, within the last 5 to 10 years, where you had or have an open license that then somehow gets restricted. Like, there's a lot of projects now that are trying to protect themselves from the larger players that they're using it and they're not giving back. And you're not like, if I'm creating a little application that Amazon is, dependent upon, I can't sue Amazon, right? It's just me. So in order to defend myself, I say, okay, well, it's open with asterisk, right? And how do you feel about that? I've talked to folks that grew up on BSD, and I've looked at it like, well, if BSD would have forced Sony to, give back to their code when they used it in PlayStation, maybe BSD would be farther along now. And someone said, yes, but that is the choice that the developer made to allow full freedom. It's like, okay, I see that as well. And that is developer's choice and whatnot. So I don't think it's as easy to kind of define and narrow down for every situation. I think each situation is very unique. But
Of
what is
course, I mean, I the thing is, to me, a permissive license doesn't bring us to the ideals that I've been talking about. And so I for me personally, I think this is sort of where we're talking about two things at the same time, because one is y- you need to do what's best for you, of course you do. And so if there's a situation that comes forth and your choice of license isn't a copyleft license, then I sort of need to trust that you are doing everything you can
Mhm.
to make society look the way that you want it to look. But I really want society to be built on the concept of giving back. And so I believe that if we push those concepts, the concept where if you write a program, if you write free software, and someone else uses that, they will then also give that freedom again. That to me is sort of the path to a society that I want to see. So yeah, I can't say anything else, but please see what I see when I look at that sort of outcome, and then make choices based on that.
And again, it's one that I can agree with wholeheartedly. I've always believed, that knowledge is power, but we should also share the knowledge freely. I was someone that I didn't have a lot of money, but being able to dig into this computer thing, being able to dig into the code and play with it empowered me. And sharing, like, I'm not a developer again, but I openly and freely share my knowledge and information. Again, my company is a nonprofit, and when folks are like, well, why would you give that away for free? And it's like, because I learned it for free.
Yeah,
why would why would I lock away that knowledge? Like, I don't understand that. And I always look at
I
it
don't
this
either.
way. Yeah, I
I
always.
don't either. And I also see, like, I see a society that has a more fair way of educating its younger people. I see a society that have governments that are more focused on using the money that the people sort of pay as a form of taxes to
Hmm.
use tools to create and give something back to those people instead of investing in the tools themselves. Like, I believe
Yeah.
that, oh, there are so many ways in which if you make the choices for free software, the choices that the philosophy is based on, then you're really creating a space that is just better.
One, it's interesting too because I love the idea of it is a tool, right? Because let's be honest, that's all computers are. They are tools. The internet is a tool, and if we would say, well, I came up with the idea of the hammer, you have to buy my hammer, like it never would have flown in society. This whole idea that we can copyright our tools is very much a modern day thing,
Yeah.
right? And I don't,
Yeah, this little bit of like, what more can I own and not give
yeah,
away? Yeah.
yeah.
How can I set more boundaries for people?
And I'm
It's a very
trying to,
strange thing.
I have a book. I can't remember which book it is, and it specifically talks about like the hacker generation, and it was updated in the '90s to include Mr. Solomon, Richard, and basically saying, he's carrying on this hacker ethos, and that's when you start to realize like how new the idea is of locking down your tools, and
Yeah.
it has gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
again, farmers can't work on their tractor because we locked it down. It's like, but that their food is going to rot on the field, so
Yeah.
what value are you bringing by doing that? Oh, it's to your shareholders. Well, screw the
Yeah.
rest of us then. And it's not it sucks that it's gotten to this point,
Yes.
but
Yes.
sometimes you need to get to bad places to start to push back and realize it can't go on anymore.
Yeah. And it's okay to like think of something that seems impractical. Like, why, well, sure, it takes effort to make changes. It takes, a real investment, of course, but it took real investment to get where we are. So I don't know. It's hard, of course. You don't like I said before, you don't do this overnight, but in the end, I think it's important to see technology as
Yes.
extensions of ourselves. Like, the reason why we build these tools are because we need something. Like the hammer that you gave as an example,
Yeah.
is a perfect example of that. It's just an extension of our hand, but then with more, features. And this is technology. That's how we built everything, with the idea that we just need to extend beyond what we can reach, beyond what we can touch at that
Yeah.
moment. There's a real practical level to it. And so
Yeah.
if you want to change that, that is fine.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing is this entire idea of a tool that you can't put your hands on is not the same as a hammer. But again, we're realizing how ingrained this stuff is in our daily lives, that it's gotten to the point where even the older generation, like I was talking to someone the other day about a car, a gentleman that lives down the street that was helping me with my air conditioning. Yes, I'm in the U.S. We have air conditioning, and I know it's such a normal thing for me. And then I come to find out from all my European friends, it's like,
Yeah,
no
not a
one has
normal
air
friend.
conditioning.
No,
Yeah,
we are actually in the middle of a heat wave right now. Like,
so are we, but I don't really feel it.
yeah,
Sorry.
there you go. Me
Um,
too.
but I was talking to him, and it's like he works with his hands, right? Like he is a HVAC guy, and he has all this tangible stuff, and he's like, I don't really want an electric car. There's nothing I can, like, that car is
Fix.
then not
Yeah.
mine. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's
Yeah.
it right there. And I'm happy to hear you saying that, because you're
Yeah.
right, it's not yours, and that's the
But
problem.
and this is a challenge for us as the F7. We feel this is a real challenge because this is a generation that used to own things.
Yep.
We still owned things when we were
Yep.
young. We also, if you look, for example, at videos, I don't know what you did, but I went to my friends down the street with a little CD. I was like, we need to play this game now. And
Yep.
like, those are memories and experiences that make these ideals that we are fighting for are really concrete. And
Yes.
there's a generation right now that doesn't have those experiences, and it's really difficult to explain to them what it is that they're missing.
Well, and that's so. I talked to Ms. Kirsten. I think it was last week. She runs the indie radio, the indie beat .fm, and she has two kids. And I was asking her about my kids are too young to fully understand where they're at right now. They're 5 and 8, and the older one I think starting to get it. But she actually said that it's interesting that her kids and their friends are really getting into vinyl because they have that thing. Like that
I can
means
hold it in
so
their
much to them.
hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like that is so unique to them that like this is mine. And
Yeah.
it was so reassuring to hear because as someone like music is not a big part of my life, but I enjoy listening to music. But then the rest of like it all interconnects, right? This is what we've been talking about is that song can go away. They can't take your vinyl record away. And it's interesting that medium to me, like I had records when I was a little kid, and then I had cassette tapes, and then I had CDs and all of these things. And I've seen this and like I
Collection. You had a collection, and it was like
of
built with
yeah,
care. Yes.
of
And not everyone could
movies.
touch everything either. Like it's
Yeah. And I still have my movie collection somewhere. Like every Friday, I would go out when I got paid and I would get two movies. Doesn't
yeah.
matter what they were. I would just try them out and and at any moment that could go away. And it's interesting because we've been saying this FSF has been saying this, since the 90s? When was the FSF created?
1985. This year's our 40th
85.
anniversary.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Happy
Well,
birthday,
thank you.
FSF.
Yeah. 4th of October.
But it's so weird because like even my dad, when I would try to explain this to him like 10 years ago, and be like, well, you sound ridiculous. They could never take away my movie. And
Hmm.
now like they're taking away movies is like, what the hell? Like,
But
how could
even
they
then,
do
like
that? And it's,
even in university, I felt it. Like I felt, you feel, this is also something is that we have felt these freedoms slowly being taken
yeah,
away. Like even in university, studying media, I also had to study
yeah,
film, which meant that for example, I had moments where I couldn't watch a DVD because it was, ripped, and my DVD player would refuse to read it, DRM. These concepts of like being
yeah,
blocked from doing, and this is in university. It wasn't like I was like hanging out with friends and going like, hey, watch a movie. No, it was something I had to study for my school, and my DVD player would just go, nah. So
well, and that's,
that's a really like a really concrete example of like
yeah,
why this is not okay.
no. And it's really interesting because it's not even, that's a great example, right? Because the music and video industry has been blazing the way to this digital transition to remove it from you. But now my wife, like she's finishing up her doctorate degree and pretty much all of her books are digital books.
Yeah.
And she still has like a medical book from like 5 years ago that she's like, well, I can go back to that. And she asked me about the digital copy and I'm like, well, it has DRM in it. If they decide, not even if they decide, if the company goes out of business, right? You
You're
lose
done.
your book. And she's like, that's insane. I was like, yes, it is.
Yes.
It's
And then what do you do? Hey, yeah. It's
right.
funny
And
when
then we're
when you bring it back
literally,
to
yeah.
when you
Go
bring it
ahead.
to education, often these like these really concrete examples sometimes, they come forth, and then you also really feel that injustice of it.
Yeah. And we could literally be on the verge of losing whole swaths of knowledge just because some company realized it wasn't viable to run that server anymore. And that is,
Yeah.
it's disgusting. And there's the stop killing games. I think my camera's following me. Shouldn't be. There we go.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's it's whatever. It's weird. It creeps me out, but it seems to be a good camera. But like the stop killing games movement in Europe, and there's been so many misnomers to it. Like, well, you can't take a multiplayer game and just switch it to single player, and they're trying to explain that that's not the goal. The goal is that we don't lose all of the knowledge, and then it just gets taken away, and that we have an opportunity as a community to save the thing that we love, right? Or at least warn us. Like there's we have in the US, nutrition labels on food, but
Hmm.
there's no kind of label on a game except for it's an online experience. Well, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
literally seen games that are live service games shut down within 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, we don't have any sort of ingredient list on any of our technology, really. Like your
Yeah,
computer could also come with I have a direct link to the organization that built me.
and
Don't do that either.
and it seems like that they are pushing the guidelines so much that yeah, we're finally pushing back. Do you guys does the FSF work with folks? I know there's the FSF Europe, but
Hmm.
is that an arm or an extension of the Free Software Foundation? How do you two relate?
It's a sister organization. So we have different organizations, different organizing structures, different governance, but we
Okay.
do relate. So we do discuss. So I meet with the president there, Matthias, quite often, and we talk about the focus points and things like that. But
Okay.
it's also a very like so we this is just we have the same goals, we have the same purpose, we both are called FSF, so we still
Hmm.
have the same standards as well, and we make sure that we keep to those. um, but the FSFE has different focus points because Europe is completely different from the
Yes.
US,
Yeah.
and so there's just different ways of approaching the issues. And honestly, if you would now put the FSF in Europe, the
Hmm.
North American FSF in Europe, we would probably struggle with finding the best ways of bringing the free software message to the people. Um, but we are much more, we know much more, and we are much more focused on doing that in North America. I mean, that is not to say that we still do things in Europe, but we do it one in collaboration or
In
at least
tandem
in
with others.
discussion with.
Yeah.
And um, and and a lot of the things that we do in Europe are really focused on the philosophy and on the actual technical aspects of it,
Hmm.
much less on the integration within society,
Okay.
which is very much an FSFE thing.
So if there was, trying to figure out how to say this, if the FSF tomorrow had to pick one project to kind of focus on, I know, right? What would be kind of your, and let's just say though that money's not an option. Not like you're running out of money, but like, hey, this is the key point that we need to focus on. Like free software on mobile devices or computers. And I know it's all free software is the goal. But if there was one project that you guys are working on, that like we're going all in here. Do you have anything like that you would think, or maybe even legislation or something coming down the line or anything like that?
I mean, me personally,
Yes.
I would say education. Like,
Okay.
education is where
Yeah.
everything starts, because if only
Mm-hmm.
we sort of create this army of people that understands what they're doing, understands what we're talking about, and
Sure.
and follows these ideals, but also has practical experience living them, because that
Mm-hmm.
is what I believe is the right way to go. Like, if we should be teaching people from a very young age about software, what it is and how it runs our world. And we should be teaching them
Okay.
how they can control it. And we should teach them that if they use the computers that the school says that they should be using, and they use the software that the school sort of has the licenses to, then that also means that if they get out of school and they don't have that money anymore, they have one skill, and that is
Yep.
to use the things that
Yeah.
they've been taught to use, instead of understanding the concepts that they
Yeah.
need to understand and be able to apply them on all the tools that are out there. So this is something that I think, and then from there, of course, you're building people with the knowledge that they need to make all the changes that need to happen. Because, I mean, let's be honest, and this is why it's hard to be the FSF, is there's so much needs to change. So,
Yeah.
and it needs to change when it comes to technology, and we have skills in house to make changes to push technology forward in a free way. We have skills in house to push the understanding of licenses and the actual application of licenses to make sure that people understand why it is that you're doing these things, but also how you do it and how you make sure that you comply with these licenses. Those are really important. Would I, go all in on a compliance case? Maybe. It would be a choice to make, and it would be very, very expensive. But if that's also a way to educate people, like if we have a major compliance case where we could bring to justice some organization and make them and make the world see how important it is, but also how to do it right, then yeah, maybe I would. Would I?
No,
I mean, would I invest in free mobile phones? Would I invest in free hardware, like so that we could all run computers way down to our biases, like all of it? Like, give me all the
yeah.
money, and I will invest in all of it. But if you're telling me now you need to pick one, I'd pick education.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that because I remember being in school as a teenager in high school where we had Apple Macintosh computers. And it's like, how did they afford this? Because Apple knew then if you get the computers in at that level, and that's why you see Chromebooks
They
in
will
school
use them
now.
until they die.
Well, that's my son has a Chromebook, and I hate it. I hate it so much, but it is what it is at this point. And then he comes to me and is like, "Hey, can you install this game?" And I'm like, "That's not a game. That's a website." Oh, it's because they took the website and they made it a Google Chrome app, right? And it's like
Yeah,
it's still a
yeah,
website, and it just these companies knew a long time ago that if you can get the education at a low level, it pays off in spades later on. Like
yeah,
in the 90s, Apple saw a massive resurgence with the Apple Mac because we all used one when we were kids, and it's like I know this, and yeah, it's what what can people do to help? What would you ask someone like in chat to help?
Oof. Well, there are multiple ways. One is volunteer. Volunteer for an organization that focuses on free software, that builds something. If you have technical skills, go build something with an organization. If you don't have technical skills, then reach out to an organization and see if you can apply whatever skills you have. Most of the time, you can, because everyone needs all of the skills, not only the technical ones. Look at me. Um,
Hmm.
so volunteer, but also like step up to people, talk about the issue, like bring it to the kitchen table, talk about it during your Christmas dinner or your, hey, 4th of July. Talk about the fact that your phone is just, not completely yours, that it has all of these features and all of these bugs that are non-free, and what that means, and it
Yeah,
and how it affects us on a day-to-day basis, and how it pushes us in a certain direction and doesn't allow you to take full control over your technology. And if that happens, you don't have full control over your life. And that,
yeah.
maybe shouldn't be the way that things are. So talk about it. Talk about it with your friends and with your family and with your boss, and ask to use free software applications, and make small steps. Bring people that you know onto what we call the freedom ladder. Introduce them to tools and applications that are free, and then show them how to use them. And from there, you might spark their interest into doing something else. And then, if you have the financial means, support these organizations. Support the FSF, support the
Hmm.
FSFE if that's, where your focus is. Support the FSF here in North America, but there are other organizations. There are the actual organizations that are building the free software tools that you like. Most of the time, they're looking for people
This
to
is
donate
yeah.
to them. So if you have the financial means, it can be the cost, the price of a cup of coffee. Just give it, and they will do something useful with it.
And it's interesting because again, as a Linux nerd that has come up, like I've tried to explain things to folks. It's also how you say it, I think. But it's interesting to me how many people that are not technical in the least that are now ready and are so sick and tired of the the state that it's in, not owning anything. Um, yeah, it's an interesting time, and I think we have a massive opportunity to not only talk about it but show people, give them options. So many people don't even know that there are other options right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
like one of the I think it's actually on your podcast that I heard you talking about. But for example, one of the skills that is that can be used by almost any organization that has anything to do with free software is translation.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And
Um,
a lot of people know multiple languages, so just
yeah.
help out.
And it's something, and even documentation, just regular
Yeah.
documentation, people don't realize. I was literally having this conversation yesterday. There are so many engineers that know their product inside out, but they can't verbalize it, or they think it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to them and be like, I'm a normal person and that doesn't make sense. I think this is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Understand, and then help them with that. And I
Or
mean,
even like simple, like a lot of like for example, we're hosting we did during Lima Planet, for example, the development of a program, and it needed to be installed, and so they needed to document the steps to
mhm,
install, and
yes,
and so they would just take volunteers and go, "Here's a computer. Can you help us document all the steps to install this
yep,
thing? And we'll guide you through how to do it. But if you can just make sure that it's written down correctly and in a readable and understandable way,
yeah,
that helps a lot."
yeah. Tutorials. I literally talked to the bonfire developers, and I was like, "Do you guys have like?" One of their biggest struggles is, how do we explain what this is, and then how do we install it? And it's like, you guys need someone in communications, right? Like, and
Yeah,
it's so weird to be at this
yeah,
point. Like, I can talk to people. I love talking to people. And now you're coming to see that, like, that skill of just talking to someone becomes valuable, right? And
yeah,
and verbalizing those workflows.
yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because you see this all over the world, like these very technology focused organizations. Of course, they need people that understand communications and marketing and
Mm-hmm.
finance and operations and, how to bring it to people and sales and all of those things. Like, of
Yeah.
course, they also need that. And if you look at more culturally or socially focused organizations, of course they need people that are technical, they are that know all the math
Yeah.
behind all of the systems. Of course they need every single element. And when it comes to foundations, it's not different at all, like especially foundations need all of the skills, because I can tell
Yes.
you, we're all short of staff, we're all dreaming bigger than anything we
Yep.
can ever achieve, and so anything that you can contribute is valuable.
And there are exceptions, but pretty much anyone that's working on any of these projects gets thrilled to have someone else involved.
Yes, and it brings energy. Like, we love having people
Yeah.
knock on our doors and go, "Hey, can we help out for a while?" Because it gives us one, a story, so we get better and more understanding of like how this person came to the
Hmm.
same convictions as we did. And it's good to like build that community further and to learn from these people as well. Like, as we're teaching you, you're teaching us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Fireside Fedi is normally to talk to folks within the Fediverse. Zoe and I were having this conversation. The Free Software Foundation is on the Fediverse. Zoe is currently not.
Hmm.
I'm going to ask everyone out there to message Zoe if you're on the Fediverse and let her know what you guys think of the Fediverse. I have done, I was around when Facebook started, and I didn't ever trust it. I understood the power behind it, but just an idea of someone in the background having information to me just seemed really weird. I've never really had an X account until this. People have talked me into posting to X and Blue Sky, and I'm putting my stuff on YouTube now. And the Free Software Foundation is on X and Blue Sky and the Fediverse. But I have been so empowered by the amount of the positive reception I've gotten on the Fediverse. So if folks think that Zoe should be on the Fediverse,
Yeah.
reach
Let me
out.
know.
Yeah, not to
Let
throw
me
you
know.
under the bus here, but I found it really interesting
Yeah.
personally,
Well, the
and
thing is
I'm
with
having a
social
lot of fun
media,
with it.
Yeah, good. I so the social media thing, the thing that you said is also something that I've experienced. Like when Facebook started, of course, as being
Yeah.
one of the first social medias, it was a big thing. Like it meant a lot and it was a little bit
Yep.
scary. I moved to Australia then, so I used it and I felt like it was a tool for me to stay in touch with people overseas, but it's still you still felt a little bit spied on.
Yep.
And I think that got less over time for people. But of course, during like I was in a very sort of popular culture commercial field for quite a while. And so you get very confronted with the way that social media is used to, sell people's products and do
Yep.
things like that. So that's also a reason why I sort of was always a bit skeptical about using it myself. And then for when it comes to the Fediverse, I was the one that drove the FSF to get a PeerTube account. I was the one to
Nice.
actually I called Framasoft and I was like, "Can we please teach me all these things?" When I
I
was
love
still
it.
a program manager and I had just started, I did that because I believed that that was like such a good idea and such a good way to approach the same concept, but then in a
Hmm.
more distributed way. And so with Mastodon, I just have always, I don't know, it's just, I
You
just
don't
haven't
have
quite
to.
taken the step yet.
You don't have to run a Mastodon though either. Because
No.
I looked into, like, I run three different go-to socials for all of my things, and it's definitely beta software, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And like I've told my wife, if and when the kids ever want on social media, it will be
This is
our.
how we do it. Yeah.
Yes, it'll be
Yeah.
our social media because it's the only way to do it. Um,
I think that's
but
very good.
now for the real reason I asked Zoe here is to give her the opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is a free software zoetrope. Do you know what a zoetrope is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just making sure. I figured you did, and I liked it because it's Zoe, but also I know what a zoetrope is,
Yeah, yeah.
and I know your media background. But anyway,
Yeah, so I was gonna say it's very fitting in many different ways.
yes,
Yes.
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 Um, the pause on your face give me like,
I was just I visual person. I was visualizing it for a second. I was
okay.
like, I wonder what that looks like.
We thought about a code, software code that causes all software to be free around the world, but I think humans will make it right sooner or later. So I think that's already being taken care of. Are you ready for the quiz?
Yes, hit me.
Okay, so this is going to be really interesting. I'm very interested to hear what you say, and we actually have someone in our community, Blender, that is a very big film person as well. But favorite movie and why is it Spaceballs?
Huh. I don't know Spaceballs. Is that awful?
That hurts. No, it's
What is it?
Spaceballs. Spaceballs is by Mel Brooks. It is just a ridiculously fun and silly sci-fi movie. Which actually, a couple weeks ago, they announced that they're going to be making Spaceballs too. And Mel Brooks is like 99 years old, so that's going
Hmm.
to be interesting.
All right, well,
Um,
I guess I will have to watch that and then let that become my favorite movie.
that's that. I'll accept that. So right now, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, honestly, so difficult.
Yeah, I figured it would be.
I don't know. I have so many good films in like so many different levels. There's one I guess that has a little special place in my heart, and it's called Pierrot le Fou from Jean-Luc Godard. And the reason is because I had to watch it like a million times for every single aspect of analysis. So I had to watch it for cinematography. I had to watch it for sound. I had to watch it for editing. I had to watch it for mise en scène. I had to watch it for I don't know, just all of it, all of it. And so I watched that film probably like 100, maybe 200 times,
Oh my
and I
gosh!
wrote literally 10 papers on it. So,
Did was
and
it
it's
was it
funny.
required by class, or you just kept
It was
choosing
a
the same film?
class. No, no, no. It was a class to really sort of
Okay.
dive into to all of the different elements of how you influence a story, and you do that with so many different aspects of skill, basically. And the only way to really sort of truly learn about that is by analyzing it from all of those different perspectives.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think people have an idea that being like in a movies class would be interesting, but having
Uh,
spent some time with Blender and like looking at things and how he explains things, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like work.
it's yes. I also had a class where I went to we like it was one of the first classes, which is if when you're in university and you're student age and stuff, first classes are tough to begin with. But put me in a cinema chair for 2.5 hours, and we watched all the old films. So we were just literally watching a camera on a train, just sort of filming all like for like
That's
20 minutes
amazing,
straight,
man.
like just
Yeah.
seeing
Well,
the images pass by. So yes, many half waken hours.
okay. Uh, Next question
But
is,
yeah, that is also a very good film, by the way. So
yeah,
not
what was it
only
called
because
again?
Pierrot Le Fou. It's from Jean-Luc Godard. He's one of the filmmakers that is like still seen as an auteur, so an actual maker of film instead of a director.
Okay, I found it.
Like one of the
Pierre Le Fou.
classics.
Okay.
Pierrot Le Fou. Yeah.
Pierre the Fool. Okay,
Yes.
1965
Yes.
French New Wave romantic crime drama road film.
Yes. And very political for its time.
Okay, I'll have to watch this. Hopefully, it has English subtitles because I only speak English and bad English. So,
It does. It does.
okay,
Uh,
good.
my French is not non-existent as well. So,
Next question is radio, TV, or movie theaters?
radio.
Radio? Okay, why radio?
Because radio has more power. It's easier. It has more. You can do more with it. You can reach further with it, and you can uh, from like a if you need it, it is more practical to have a radio than a cinema theater to like share news and share information and give updates to knowledge. It's like,
Okay.
yeah,
It's one of those things that when there's an emergency, like they don't tell you, turn on your TV. Well, they can tell you that, but it's easier to take out TV and movie and even internet at this point, right? Like radio
yeah,
is
it's a
still everywhere, even despite these other forms of
it's something we
communication.
could fall back on, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
it's a beautiful medium. Like it allows for so many different ways of entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, and this is one that I ask all of my folks from the Netherlands: Hagelslag, Pannenkoeken, or Stroopwafel?
Oof. Pannenkoeken.
Really? You're the first one to say that. Everyone says Stroopwafel.
Echt? Oh, see, I went like straight Dutch, didn't it? Wow. Okay, interesting. Oh, maybe I
Yeah.
have to switch my. It is a beautiful. Like stroopwafels are a very nice thing. Maybe I've been away too long.
When I first saw Hagelslag, though, I'm like, what? My kids do this. Like, are you a Hagelslag
I mean, a
fan?
house is it's a very nice little thing. Like the funny thing is that this is something you can't explain. But if you ever go to Holland,
Mm-hmm.
anyone who is listening to this, if you ever go to Holland, going to a supermarket in Holland is
Uh-huh.
almost like an attraction. Will be for you. Just go to the condiment
Yeah.
section where you have everything that you can put on bread. It is
Okay.
it is 2 aisles of stuff. And hagelslag is just one of them. And hagelslag, of course, has all these different variations as well. Like, yeah.
That's like condiments. I think of ketchup, mustard, mayo, sriracha, barbecue sauce, and that's about it.
Yeah, but I maybe condiments isn't the right word. It's things you put on bread, basically.
Accessories to bread.
Accessories to bread. Yes, that is pretty
Okay.
much it. And we have there's so much of it, and the things there's things you can't like think of it, and it'll exist. It will be somewhere in that aisle.
Okay. I mean, I definitely have to go now. When the kids are like, "Where are we going in Holland?" Be like, "The grocery
To a
store."
supermarket. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I love it. But this is why I like talking to people, because everyone's experiences are so different and unique. I love this. Okay. I'll have to, and again, that'll be interesting pictures of our vacation, like 20 years from now, 30 years from now. It's like, where did you go?
Just like in this aisle, just like
How really old? I'm 44, to answer the question in chat. I'm 44 years young. Next question is, what does an alternate universe Zoe do?
oh, I don't know, probably the same. um, I don't know. I can imagine being like an artist, just making stuff. Yeah.
What kind
Using
of
my
art?
hands, anything really. Like, maybe I'll be a software developer. No, I'll probably like actual just paintings or three-dimensional art. But I mean, I can imagine like something within media. It's like I've always had a big interest in media art as well. People that use current day technology, the internet,
To make
websites, things like
art?
that to make art.
Yeah, I like that too.
Really,
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, like people that make music with old hard drives or something. They're going.
Yeah.
I love when people take technology and use them for art, because you are again taking a tool and you have a very clear idea of what that tool does and just flipping on its head. I love
Yeah,
that kind of
it's
thing.
questioning it. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah.
basically what we do here as well. So we were questioning whether or not society should look the way it does.
I love that. Okay. So I reached out to an alternate universe Zoe. I have an alternate universe phone. It's very complicated. Don't ask. And she said she works for the Feed Software Foundation. So when I asked her what that was, she said AI had actually taken over the universe, and she's just responsible for feeding the software. I don't want to know
Wow.
what she's feeding it, but yeah, good luck to alternate universe Zoe. That sounds like a dangerous
feels
job.
really depressing also.
I mean, how far are we from it? Hopefully very far away. But
wow, that concept is going to stay in my mind for a bit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Next question is red, green, or blue?
I'll go green.
Yes, I love green. Why green?
Because it's not primary.
Because it's not primary. It's not?
It's not.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm not an artist. What are the primary
green,
colors?
Green is yellow and blue. And so red, yellow, blue are the primary colors.
I mean, I just came up with it because of RGB. And it's in a rainbow. Are rainbow colors not primary?
No. So primary colors are the ones that you cannot mix, cannot create with other colors. Yeah.
Red, yellow, blue?
Blue.
Okay. Interesting. All right. And as usual, our last question will be sent to Zoe telepathically. I'll send you the question. I'll let you know when it gets there, which you'll obviously know because we're telepathic. But for our audio listeners, it gives them a key. Take your time. They're usually very complex questions. And let me know when you're ready. Okay? Here it comes. Okay. Take your time. Let me know what your answer is to that very, crazy, over the top, telepathically sent question. I'm an idiot. I make myself laugh.
I think it's 2.
2?
Yeah.
Okay. Why 2?
Because I just, I was going to say 1, but 2 is always better. I think more is better, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Most people say 42, which in this case
I thought about doing that, but I was like, let me not.
I asked a completely different question than what 42 would be the answer. So I'm glad you said 2. I think that was the right question. And yep. Okay, congratulations. You got every answer, either correct or incorrect. Good job. Our community member Hylas was on his way to bring you the free software Zoetrope, but he informed me he got jumped by some guys in microstop shirts. And that wasn't a problem for Hylas. He actually was able to defend your item, but it got the Zoetrope spinning, and he's just enamored by watching a horse running around the zoetrope now. So I think he's going to be stuck there for a while. But once we get to him, we will make sure to punish Hylas accordingly for not delivering your prize. But
Well, I can't wait
Zoe,
to hear the
thank you.
update.
Thank you so much for joining me. I really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. This was nice.
And thank you for all you do and for the Free Software Foundation and what everyone does there. I know that it's been a large part of my life now for 20 plus years. So thank you so much.
I
It's
appreciate that very much, and thank you as well for opening this space up and talking to the people that you've been talking to and being a great
yeah.
host. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you. I think I'm my own worst enemy with that, but thank you. I appreciate it. I need to learn how to accept compliments, right? It's something that we all need to do. But uh, to everyone else on the Fediverse, thank you all so much for choosing open spaces. Please remember, as Zoe was mentioning earlier, it doesn't have to be a direct donation to me. It doesn't have to be a direct donation to Free Software Foundation, but any donation to any type of free platform, any type of free software helps push free software even more, helps us all be a little bit more free. I am one that truly believes that any additional piece of code, even if it's something that you only use yourself, there might be someone that comes along and uses that code. Or if you donate to someone and they are able to add one more line, those lines of code matter into us getting back control of our devices. They can be our technology. So please don't forget to donate to your sysadmins, donate to your developers, donate to the Free Software Foundation, donate to the Free Software Foundation Europe or Latin America or India. Or again, I also have BT Free. If you like what we're doing here, all money goes right back into the Fediverse some way or other. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you all so much, everyone.